Today we'll learn the imperfect tense of more strong verbs. First, a quick review of the last lesson. Here are the 5 main weak verbs that are almost always used in the imperfect tense, even in conversations. And we learned they are conjugated like this. Ich hatte, and once you have that, of course, just add st for the do form, n for the plural forms wir and sie, and t for the ihr form, and you've got it. Ich hatte, du hattest, hatte, wir hatten, ihr hattet, sie hatten. And it's ich konnte. I was able to. Ich musste, I did have to. Ich durfte, I was allowed to. Ich wollte, I wanted to. Those 5 verbs are almost always in the imperfect tense, even in conversation. We also learned that strong verbs have some sort of spelling change and that they do not take the te endings that the weak verbs take. For example, we learned that gehen is conjugated thusly. Ich ging. So the ing, there's the spelling change. It's a big change. Ich ging, du gingst, ging, wir gingen, ihr gingt, and sie gingen. So with the strong verb, you add st to the do form, en for the wir form and sie forms, and t for the ihr form, but no te endings like the weak verbs had. But gehen wasn't the main verb we wanted to learn in the last lesson. We wanted to learn that sein and werden are 2 strong verbs that are almost always in the imperfect tense, even in conversations. And sein becomes ich war, I was, and du warst, and wir waren, etc. And werden, to become or to get, like to get cold, to get warm, etc. Wurde, ich wurde, du wurdest, wurde, etc. And we use these 2 verbs in sentences such as ich war müde, I was tired, wir waren müde, we were tired, du wurdest zornig, you got angry, or you became angry, and ihr wurdet zornig, same translation, but it's you plural now. Good. Now the following verbs are all strong verbs that we've come across in some lesson here or there. Being strong verbs, they have changes in the imperfect tense. Let's look at them. Now many strong verbs change the main vowel to the letter A, as schwimmen does. It becomes schwamm. And think about it. In English, swim becomes swam. The same vowel change. You're going to see there's a lot of similarities between German and English when it comes to the strong verbs being irregular, and often the English version of it is irregular as well, and sometimes in the same way. But once you have it, then you have everything else you need. Repeat the rest of them. First of all, repeat. Schwamm. Du schwammst. Schwamm. Wir schwammen. Ihr schwammt. Sie schwammen. Good. Here's another verb with that same kind of a change. The vowel changed to an A. The verb essen, to eat. Now think about it. We say eat, E-A-T, and in the past tense it becomes ate. We change our vowel to an A. So, German does the same. Repeat. Ich aß. Du aßt. Aß. Wir aßen. Ihr aßt. Sie aßen. I ate, you ate, etc. Let's continue. The verb kommen, to come. In English, I came. A vowel changed to an A. Same with German. Except another thing, one of the M's disappears. Repeat after me. Ich kam. Du kamst. Kam. Wir kamen. Ihr kamt. Sie kamen. I came, you came, etc. But again, remember, the conversational past is the more common one to use with the verb kommen. This is mostly in written form. People don't use this in conversation much. Let's continue. Nehmen, to take. Well, in English, take becomes I took. So there's a vowel change to O's, but in German, it's an A still. Repeat after me. Ich nahm. Du nahmst. Nahm. Wir nahmen. Ihr nahmt. Sie nahmen. The verb sehen, to see. In English, I see. In the past tense, I saw. A vowel changed to an A, and in German, it sounds the same. Repeat after me. Ich sah. Du sahst. Sah. Wir sahen. Ihr saht. Sie sahen. The verb to give in English becomes gave, so the vowel changes to an A. Same thing with German. Repeat. Ich gab. Du gabst. Gab. Wir gaben. Ihr gabt. Sie gaben. The verb to sing in English. I sing, but I sang. Same thing in German. Repeat. Ich sang. Du sangst. Sang. Wir sangen. Ihr sangt. Sie sangen. To drink. Well, I drink, and in the past tense I drank. Changes to an A, so does German. Ich trank. Du trankst. Trank. Wir tranken. Ihr trankt. Sie tranken. The verb to find in English becomes I found. So there's a vowel change, but not to an A. Not in English anyway. But in German it does. Repeat, ich fand. Now remember, since the end here is a D, we are going to add an extra E for pronunciation's sake for some of these forms, as in the next one. Repeat, du fandest. Fand. Wir fanden. Ihr fandet. Sie fanden. Good. The verb to speak. In English, I spoke. We changed to an O, although in very old English, it used to be I spake. So German does the same thing. It changes to an A. Repeat after me. Ich sprach. Du sprachst. Sprach. Wir sprachen. Ihr spracht. Sie sprachen. The verb to help. In English, it doesn't change at all. This is one that does not change in English, but in German, it's still an A change. Repeat after me. Ich half. Du halfst. Half. Wir halfen. Ihr halft. Sie halfen. To jump. Well, in English, jump doesn't change. It just jumped. But if you change it to, because this also means to spring, and in the past tense, it'd be I sprang into action, for example. So the vowel changed to an A. Repeat after me. Ich sprang. Du sprangst. Sprang. Wir sprangen. Ihr sprangt. Sie sprangen. Good. So all of those verbs we just learned have a vowel change to an A. The next two verbs change the vowel to the letter O in the imperfect. Fliegen, to fly. Well, in English, I fly, but I flew. So there's a spelling change in the verb, but in German, it's to an O. Repeat after me. Ich flog. Du flogst. Flog. Wir flogen. Ihr flogt. Sie flogen. Same with the next verb, to weigh something. In the past tense, it's not irregular in English, but it is in German. Ich wog. Du wogst. Wog. Wir wogen. Ihr wogt. Sie wogen. The next two verbs change the vowel to the letter U in the imperfect. Fahren, to drive. Well, in the past tense in English, drive becomes drove. So we change the vowel, but to an O. Fahren can also mean ride, and ride changes as well to an O. I rode. But in German, it changes to a U. Repeat after me. Ich fuhr. Du fuhrst. Fuhr. Wir fuhren. Ihr fuhrt. Sie fuhren. Tragen can mean to carry, which isn't irregular in English in the past tense, but also can mean to wear. And the verb to wear in English is irregular. It becomes I wore something. It changes to an O, of course, but in German it's still a U. Repeat after me. Ich trug. Du trugst. Trug. Wir trugen. Ihr trugt. Sie trugen. Good. The next verb changes the vowel to the letter I in the imperfect tense. Fangen means to catch, and in the past tense in English, catch becomes I caught. So there are some changes. However, in German again, it changes to an I. Repeat after me. Ich fing. Du fingst. Fing. Wir fingen. Ihr fingt. Sie fingen. Good. The next two verbs, including this one, change the vowel to the letter IE in the imperfect tense. So this has EI in it, but it switches around to IE. So schreiben, to write, becomes, repeat after me, ich schrieb. Du schriebst. Schrieb. Wir schrieben. Ihr schriebt. Sie schrieben. And the verb schlafen, to sleep. In the past tense in English, I slept. So there's a slight spelling change. One of the E's drops out and a T is added. But in German, again, the A changes to an IE. Repeat after me. Ich schlief. Du schliefst. Schlief. Wir schliefen. Ihr schlieft. Sie schliefen. So remember, the verbs we just did in the imperfect tense are almost never used conversationally, so you can get by without knowing them, unless you want to be able to read stories in German as well. In that case, they would be worth getting to know. I'm sure by now you are tired of the imperfect tense, so we'll move on to something else in the next lesson. Auf Wiedersehen.